I'm going to the bathroom.
All right.
What
I told you I don't commit to women who take their phones into the bathroom.
I just forgot this one time, okay?
Okay.
So, are we good then?
Yep, I called you an Uber.
This is so petty.
Call it what you want, but this is how I move, and you've known this from the start.
Ladies, don't pretend you've never texted an ex in the bathroom.
Or swiped for sausage on Tinder while in the shower.
Or God knows what else you don't want your man to find out about.
What in the Mormon? Okay, first of all, let me just be one to say, and I'm sure there's other girls who would agree with me. This is really weird, me saying it, but I have never downloaded the Tinder app. I've never been on the Tinder app. I never needed to be. I don't even know what the concept of swiping left or right means. Which direction means you like someone? And wouldn't swiping be less efficient than just clicking OK or deny or decline? But what I have heard is that it's basically a hookup app. So fine, people hook up with people and I don't know what they say to each other, but they usually end up banging at someone's house, which I think is really irresponsible in my opinion and very dangerous because I have listened to quite a few of those r/stories from Reddit where there are just these awful situations that men and women find themselves in via their Tinder date. That being said, if you're in a committed relationship, it is highly disrespectful for you to still be on dating apps while you're with someone who you love. I would even say, for my personal boundary, that is akin to cheating because you're basically saying that you're fishing for someone else to screw around with. And if that's the case, you have no business being in the relationship. That being said, who are these people and what are they smoking? Because if the man is that insecure about the wife or girlfriend bringing her phone in the bathroom because he doesn't trust her, he doesn't need to be in a relationship either. It's okay to have a little bit of jealousy or insecurity in a relationship. Everyone has it. It's completely normal. It's also okay to have boundaries. And dare I say it, this might just be my personal delight, but there is an ounce of attraction to someone who can exhibit a very measured response of control over you. You guys know exactly what I mean. But this is just overboard. Now, granted, this may be something that works for them, or for all we know, this might be a grift, and this is the way that this husband and wife, or girlfriend or boyfriend, are working together to make money off of people who are impressionable. Let's not pretend that the Derek Jacksons of the world don't exist everywhere, and know that if they can be as controversial as possible while acting as though they're gurus, that people will just throw their money at them. It's something that works, and several content creators do it. That being said, also, there are some people that have a measure of dom and sub relationships. I guess that's what they call them. It's strange because I remember being in a very small grocery store and my now husband, who's my boyfriend at the time, basically said no. I think I wanted a treat or something and he said no and I was saying please and he kept on replying no. And there was a lady that was watching us. And sometimes he will say yes to certain things, sometimes he won't. I like that aspect. And that's how our relationship functions. I allow him to lead. I am happy to be submissive to him. And there are also times where I will voice my opinion, I don't like something, or I'd like him to do something, and he will submit. But the majority of the time, he is the one who leads the relationship or is the protector and the masculine energy in the relationship. Other girls seem to be offended by that whenever they see it in public. But this specific lady at the grocery store, clearly from out of town, was like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to butt in, but are you guys in a dom and sub relationship? And I looked at her and I was like, no, I don't know what that means. And I said, I don't think I am. So she's like, oh, okay, it's just really cute because I was reading this book about such and such and such, bondage or whatever, and they had a dom and sub relationship, and you guys kind of reminded me of that. I think it's adorable. And my husband was very uncomfortable. But that is the thing. And then I realized what she was talking about, like the whole 50 Shades of Grey, which is a very cringe franchise. And there are some people that are into that to the extreme. But I think it's important pointing out that this is not normal, healthy behavior if you are somebody who is impressionable. Unless you are aware that that's something that you like, that is fine. But if you are basically telling people through your video that they should go out there and forbid their girlfriends from going into the bathroom with their phone, when a lot of these same guys that don't want their girlfriends doing that go inside the bathroom on their phones to watch prawn, it's very hypocritical and it's also very damaging to relationships. You are allowed to go on the phone and do whatever you want, but she is not allowed to do the same. It just screams that there are issues that I have not resolved from my past relationships.
Hey, Kim wants to go to a concert tonight.
Cool.
Can I go?
What are you asking me for? I'm not your father.
Well, you said you don't commit to women who go to concerts.
Indeed, I did.
So what happens from here?
Well, you can either choose to go to the concert or stay in a relationship with me.
Grief. I mean, credit to the guy for speaking up and placing his deal breakers on the table, but I don't see relationships going very far unless you get someone who is the equivalent to a slave from another culture that actually embraces that kind of behavior to commit or be faithful to you. This is a clear example of mistrust. Trust and jealousy is something that's normal in relationships, and this is more of a reason for partners to communicate with each other, utilizing transparency and being honest about their feelings and what worries them and things that they don't like. And it's fair that he did that. However, controlling or limiting your partner's actions or restricting them from spending time with their friends is not the sign of a healthy relationship, and it's something that will often breed resentment and is not made to last. In a relationship that's thriving, the boyfriend and the girlfriend or the wife and the husband should have faith in each other and allow each other to maintain their independence. If the man's concerns about infidelity are hindering the woman from participating in activities or having hobbies that she likes, it's a strong indication that there are definitely much deeper trust issues that require discussion and resolution through open and straightforward communication. Both of these people need to be comfortable enough to pursue their own interests and preserve their individuality while still being in the relationship. Now, this just screams to me that this guy has been, in fact, damaged in the past. And maybe there's a legitimate reason for that, because unfortunately, the truth is, and as a girl, I can say this because I have heard it from the mouths of many of these girls that do this, specifically extroverted girls, that they do go for a night in the town with their girlfriends to clubs or concerts and they hook up with other people. Unintentionally, these people who embrace the hookup culture have created the very men like this. I'm not saying that they should single-handedly hold all the responsibility for a grown-ass man acting like this, but it perpetuates a stigma about women that we don't want perpetuated. So when actual women who are faithful and don't do that trash and don't want to hurt people because we know what it's like to be hurt, get into a relationship, a lot of these men often go on the offense, and that's inexcusable as well. But it kind of hurts it for the rest of us. That being said, my husband would drop dead first before he allows me to go to a concert by myself or with some random person. And even if I'm with a friend, because you don't know what can happen, there's so many taken situations in human trafficking, he is as protective over me as I am of him. And the reason why we even got together is because we were attracted to each other for the activities that we had in common. It's important also when you're getting into a relationship to make sure that you have something in common with that person, things that you still like, but enough hobbies that you guys can do things together while spending time with your friends, while bonding with each other, and getting to know each other. So you can also have the peace of mind that this person is not a piece of trash. I know it's difficult, and as someone who has been cheated on many times as well, a lot of the time we get blindsided by how people treat us is because we willingly ignore red flags that are supposed to be obvious about these people. Now, things still happen. You can still have a good person that makes stupid decisions and just doesn't think about their significant other. That's what makes it painful, because you go all in and this person only went in halfway. But at that point, you have to be willing to walk away. That's one thing I will commend this stupid skit for, even though I think it is mentally degrading in the way it's executed and the thought process of it all. The woman can't say that she didn't know, because the guy made it very clear about what he was okay with in the relationship. She's not allowed to take her phone in the bathroom. She's not allowed to go to concerts without him. She's not allowed to do certain things without him, because he has no trust in her whatsoever. So if she still decides to have a relationship with him after knowing all of those things, and she ends up unhappy or unsatisfied or whatever the case is, which will evidently happen later unless that is exactly what she's into, it is her fault, because she chose that partner. He laid everything out on the table and she went with it. Oh, but it gets worse. This is where everything just starts to completely disintegrate. Ladies first for now. Not exactly who he's making these videos for, but at the very least, it's very entertaining to watch this. It gets worse.
Reservation for Donovan Sharp. How do you pronounce your name, by the way? Adalia. Adalia?
Yes. So let me get this straight. It's light flirting to ask someone how their name is pronounced? I had no idea that fell into the realms of flirting. I guess flirting means something different now than it did 2 years ago? But he makes a point of doing this in front of his girlfriend. He is specifically doing it to make her jealous or to make her see that he can talk to other females unencumbered. If this is an attempt to get men to stand up for themselves, fair enough, I guess, but what you're actually doing is okaying the very behavior that a lot of the women that these men have problem with are also doing. You're basically making yourself the other extreme of the spectrum.
Can't figure it out. It was recent.
Okay, maybe he's saying all that because he's the one who's orchestrating the date, so he wants her to feel as though he's the one taking care of her. I could actually commend that if I believed that was his whole motivation for doing this, but I have a strong feeling that's not why he's doing it.
Okay, so she is going to do for appetizer. She's going to go with the wood grilled corn, aged cheddar, spiced bacon.
She's a well-trained woman. What is she, a bitch? So wait, she's well-trained because she won't look in the waiter's direction? Honestly, he's making it seem as though she's being held against her will. Also, it's not very healthy socially to not make eye contact with people when you go out. It makes her come off as very rude or socially inept. Someone is talking to you or making conversation. I mean, you're there. You're that insecure of a person that you don't want her looking at other men, but yet only moments earlier, you were light flirting with the other waitress. So rules for thee, but not for me. It is okay for you to make the rules in the relationship about what makes you uncomfortable, but you do everything and go out of your way to make your significant other uncomfortable. Yeah, that's not toxic at all.
For dinner, she's going to go with the field green salad and the wood grilled Maine lobster tail. I am going to go with the lobster bisque.
So let me ask you something. If she gets up and she has to go to the bathroom, she's not allowed to look at any other species of the male gender is just so unrealistic. If she needs help from a police officer or somebody else, is she not allowed to look at them? How do you think they're going to think, or what do you think they're going to think if your woman is around you and she doesn't want to make eye contact with anyone? It's going to look very suspect. My question, because this is only very short snippets of clips, is why? There's no actual explanation. But when you start to see the bigger picture, you realize it's because this guy doesn't have any faith in himself or security in himself. Bro, what kind of flex is this? What in the world? Look at me, guys. I got my woman trained to look like she's a hostage. I wouldn't be surprised if all of this is for the display, to make people think he actually has this kind of power over this person. And even if he does, this is kind of false advertising because you're basically telling other men that this is how you should roll. This is how you should walk. The real alpha men don't need to act like that. Moreover, they don't need to post things like this. You know why you don't often find those types of men posting stuff like this or making videos like this? Because they're too busy fucking a lot of women. They're too busy out there making their money and being the high value men that they are. Real high value men don't do stuff like this. Unless, of course, they're trying to pretend as though they're high value and role play the life. Now, what's really annoying is when you see comments like this. This was on a creator's page who actually was talking about the video. That's actually how I found out about the video in the first place. I find it stupid that this person would come out and get upset because creators are talking about how unhealthy and foolish this behavior is while describing that this person as part of the red pill community, but not make any moves towards holding the actual person misrepresenting the community accountable. This comment is brain dead in its execution. And it's basically akin to telling people talking about extreme feminism, hey, stop associating feminism with the few hundred people you don't like who are calling themselves extreme feminists, or who are calling themselves feminist, and changing exactly how people see feminism, or what it even is. Initially, feminism had nothing to do with man-hating or acting as though women are superior. Feminism was all about us having the same rights as men, which was not the case in our grandparents' time, particularly in America. In fact, we have it pretty good in our nation since there's still places all over the world where women actually don't have rights. But none of these extreme feminists are flying over there for vacation and fighting for those rights. Similarly, if someone caters to the red pill community or advertises themselves as a member of the red pill community, people will perceive them as a representative of the red pill community. Now, I don't think the community is in any way bad. There are plenty of fair points to be made and discussions to be had. Men are important, and I agree with many of them, but let's not pretend that there aren't some people who are using the situation, who are using the sphere by being extreme and muddying the water. Every community will always have someone who misrepresents it. Maybe this individual actually believes this, but what is evident on both sides of the extreme feminist and the extreme red pill aisles is that the people who are shouting the loudest and going to such lengths to dehumanize the other gender have been hurt in the past and have not dealt with their issues. If you don't believe me, it comes exactly from the horse's mouth.
I scrolled through, saw all kinds of stuff, drove to her place. I said, I want you to be honest with me. Have you cheated on me? I wanted her to lie to me. And I wanted her to lie to me so I could just keep up the delusion. She said, honestly, yes. That is the worst emotional pain I've ever felt in my life. To this day, I never will. Dude, I went to her bathroom. I puked, ripped off the necklace. She's blowing me up at work all day long. I'm sorry. I can't pick up the phone. So finally, I picked up the phone. She's like, hey, I'm sorry. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. She's like, look, I want to come to your place. I have a birthday surprise for you. So she comes over. She has like this little cupcake and she bought me a watch that she knew I was looking at. Then she turns around and lifts up her shirt. There was my name tattooed on the small of her back. Dude, my hand to the man. So I was back in her clutches. It was all downhill from there. Guys, this story gets so much worse.
How old were you?
I was 31. I was 30. She continued cheating on me, right? So I'm always trying to catch her. I lost my job. I lost the place that I was at. The car that I had was paid for because I paid cash for it. It broke down. I didn't have a job, so I couldn't get it fixed. I'm evicted. I ended up having to live with a couple of her drug addict friends in a quasi crack house. And I kept trying to get back with her. September 16th, baby daddy gets out of prison. Okay? Baby daddy gets out of prison. I called her up on September 15th. I said, you know what? I can't do it. I think you still love Ben. I can't do it anymore. Dude, she cried her eyes out. Hung up the phone. I stayed up all night long. I couldn't sleep. So I called her up. The next day. I was like, hey, meet me at this gas station. Then I called up my brother and I borrowed $800. He gave me $800. I went to the jewelry store. I bought her a ring, proposed to her. Listen.
See what I mean? When you place this person next to an extreme feminist, they're practically identical in their demeanor, their speech, and the lack of regard for the opposite sex. Finally, I believe that if something is a kink, it should be labeled as such. I recognize that many people are unaware that their inclination or practice constitutes as a kink, but what is undoubtedly destructive is convincing others that this is somehow regular or normal relationship and how regular relationships work and how every other woman is going to respond or should respond. It's kind of misleading. And that's why when people talk about kinks such as bondage, they try to tell people, if they are talking about it to the public, which is something that's supposed to be very intimate and private, that, hey, this is not for everyone, and this is what it entails, and this is not something generally people are okay with. It's a kink. That's why it's labeled as such, because it's not normative. The video we made earlier with just the whole training the woman thing, it's akin to an extreme feminist making a video on how to train her man. Imagine that exact scenario played out if the genders were reversed. It is important that each party have respect for one another and their individuality as a human being. If the woman doesn't respect you and you find that you have to train her to not disrespect you or cheat on you, you've already lost because you're still putting up with that person. Whether you're a man or a woman, this still holds true. That is my 2 cents. What do you guys think about the whole issue? Do you think this guy is the real deal? Do you think he has a point to what he's saying? I haven't heard every single video that he's done, so I'm sure there are points that we could probably agree with, but I definitely don't think that it is okay to promote this as being a normal relationship or how you should treat women if you're seeking a relationship that is full of commitment. If anything, human beings don't like to be placed in a box and restrained. It is going to cause the person to resent you, and if for some reason they decide to stay with you, they're probably only doing it to use you because they get off on that, or because they genuinely care about you, but you're going to drive them away and in turn cause people to want to run away from you, especially when they see how other relationships are, how other guys treat them. And unless the woman is with you 24/7 throughout your life, you are not going to stop her from looking at other men. As a matter of fact, the fact that she doesn't have the ability to willfully just look at a man when she's around you or hang out with her friends is more of a reason why she would be encouraged or heavily tempted to notice other men or do things that she shouldn't be doing. And I would say the same thing to women who are in a relationship with men who are trying to train them as well and don't want them looking at other women. Your significant other should be respectful and not just gawk at other people when they're around you. It's very disrespectful if a woman is out with her boyfriend or husband and a man is walking by and she's just gawking at him and turning her head and following him with her eyes. Like, it makes you look bad. Likewise, it's the same thing if the roles are reversed. But simply making eye contact to someone and speaking with people outside, I don't think it's healthy behavior to preclude someone from doing that because you are highly insecure that the person is going to look at someone and just bounce her tits onto that person, and right there, they're just going to break down and start doing it. That's not realistic. It only speaks volumes about the person attempting to control the other.